Today I wanted to start a new series of videos about language learning FAQs. Now, I'm the administrator of the languagelearner.org forum, and we get a lot of questions from beginners and intermediate users and advanced users that are pretty common, and they come up with pretty common answers. So I wanted to do a series on these common questions and just generally let people understand the type of questions we get and the answers that you normally would receive. Now, these answers I'm giving you in this video are an amalgamation of the replies to various topics in threads related to these questions, and I've generalized the questions typically to be a bit more generic. The first set of questions that I want to cover are what I call general questions. So these aren't specific to any method or language, but just general questions that we typically get. And you can see here, what language should I learn? How many languages should I learn? How long until I'm fluent? And how many new words should I learn each day? What language should I learn? Well, people who want to learn any language normally fail to learn any language. Because of the time it takes to learn a language, you really need to have some interest or compelling reason to learn it. An interest in the culture and the people who use the language will help you immensely. Now, ultimately, it's your choice, but you're going to be spending a lot of time with the language, so it's probably better that you like it. And another thing you might want to consider is the available resources for learning a language. If you're learning a small language, which would be considered less than 100,000 speakers, you're going to struggle to find books and audio and other resources for you to study. So you should take this into account when you think about what language you want to learn. Now the next question, how many languages should I learn? Well, this is not as difficult to answer as you'd think. How many languages should I learn? Well, many people have the desire to be polyglots and know dozens of languages. But for the majority of people, this is just a pipe dream that is never going to come true. On our forum, we've seen a lot of language learners come and go who wanted to know a lot of languages, but have never actually learned any. If you're a monolingual adult, then you need to pick one language and learn that one. And then after you've reached the level you want, just add another language. Now, the reason we say this is one of the first things that you need to learn, a fourth or fifth language, is you need to know how to learn a language. Or more correctly, you need to know what works for you in order for you to learn a language. Because there's just as many ways to learn a language as there are to skin a cat. And remember that learning a language takes a huge amount of time, and it's measured in months and years, not hours. The advice we generally give is to stick to one. Now the next question, how long until I'm fluent? How long until I'm fluent? Well, how long is a piece of string? The first thing you'll need to define is what does fluent mean, and you'll be hard pressed to find a good answer even among linguists. So perhaps a better way is to ask how long to get to the various CEFR levels. Now, the CEFR organizes language proficiency into 6 levels, A1 to A1 to C2, which can be regrouped into 3 broad levels of basic user, independent user, and proficient user. And depending on the level that you want, it can take months or even years to hit your goals. So, how many new words should I learn every day? Well, you should learn as many new words as you can, but no more. Now, the real answer is completely dependent on the person, the language, and the time available. So there really isn't any number, just some guidelines. If you're able to read a book, even a children's book in the language, then you probably already know a lot of common words. So don't worry much about common words, because quite frankly, they're common. So you'll see them all the time, every time you read or listen or study the language. So does this mean that I'm telling you to study esoteric uncommon words instead? Well, no. The best advice is to find words that are common enough, but not structural words. So, for example, in English, don't bother to learn yes, no, the, a, and because they're so common that you're going to learn them anyway. But don't learn words like pseudofolliculitis Barbie, because you're not going to encounter them. Instead, look for common words that are frequently used, like negative, alternative, situation, or wardrobe. These words come up often enough that you're going to need to know them, but not so often that they're going to be encountered all the time. So where do you go from here? Well, the Language Learners Forum is open to everyone, and there are currently over 8,800 topics with almost 200,000 posts to read. So it's a great place to visit if you want to learn languages. Now, I do plan to continue this series and explore many of the categories of topics posted by various members. And this includes categories like gathering resources, practicing, immersion, SRS and words list, pronunciation, language exchanges, vocabulary and motivation, and so much, much more. If you're interested, I've put the link to the website on the screen, and you can follow that and ask your own questions. If you like this series, let me know in the comments, and I'll continue to explore the various questions and their answers that we get on the forum. And also, if you like this type of video, please subscribe. I'll try and do more of them as I can. And thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for listening.